On today's show, we have some exclusive details on the next Kingsman movie. We get a new Vox Lux trailer, and Christopher McQuarrie's talking Mission Impossible 7. What kind of crazy building jumping is Tom Cruise getting into? Movie talk starts right now. Would he ever jump another building, do you think? Or do you think
Absolutely.
Tom Cruise is done with that after the experience of Mission Impossible Fallout?
He'll probably find a new but equally crazy stunt to do.
That's not even the craziest stunt he did in that movie. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Ellis. I'm the host of Collider Movie Talk. That is Perri Nemiroff. That is Haleigh Foutch. They're both much better at this than I am, so I'm talking first. And we have a whole lot of stuff, not just to talk about, but actually to deliver to you, the home viewer / podcast listener, because our own Stephen Frosty Weintraub, he's a busy boy today. Not only tonight is he hosting the Avengers Infinity War screening that we're having at the Cinerama Dome at ArcLight on Sunset. That's going to be fun. Then he's doing a Q&A with the Russo brothers afterwards. That's going to be a barrel of laughs. Maybe information. I don't know what they're going to say, what they're not going to say. You should probably show up to find out first. And he's breaking scoops left and right, including this one about Kingsman. Now, Perri, Haleigh, there's a lot of stuff that Frosty got out of this scoop. He was talking to Matthew Vaughn, and Matthew Vaughn says that, okay, we're going to start filming the new Kingsman movie in January, but it's going to be a prequel. It's going to be set in some period in history, and it's going to be a look at the Kingsman as a tailor shop, and it's going to be history through the eyes of Kingsman. So we get to know how far back the Kingsmen potentially go, where they may be going from here is another question, because Matthew Vaughn is currently writing some sort of sequel to The Golden Circle that might see Taron Egerton, Colin Firth come back. Not sure what's going to happen, who's going to be cast in this prequel that we're getting. So that's where I want to start with you, Perri Nemiroff. We're shooting this thing in January. We don't know a lot about it, but we know that the shooting is going to be in London, so we imagine a lot of the Kingsman action has already taken place in London. This prequel idea, looking at the history of the world through the eyes of the Kingsmen, is this a good idea? Is it something you want to see?
They had me until they got to the term period drama, or at least that's how it's being described right now. I don't know how far they're going to go with the whole period drama idea, because, the reason we have Kingsman right now is the appeal of, that sassy humor, the gentleman vibe, and then the action. And the thought of them going heavy with the drama and maybe I don't even know if that's exactly what this means, but going drama over action worries me a little bit, and it makes it sound like a little less fun. And, while I don't necessarily think that's going to happen that exact way, towards the end of the piece, Steve also mentions that Matthew Vaughn isn't going to continue doing these things unless there's something different, something new to offer. And the idea of going period drama versus action does sound like something very fresh and different to me. It's just, is that what the Kingsman fan base is going to want?
Yeah, I mean, is the Kingsman fan base in general, what is their appetite, Haleigh, after The Golden Circle was a disappointment in comparison to the first Kingsman, both critically and at the box office? So do you think this is the right move? Whether it's a period drama and it's like hard-hitting, emotional stuff, or it's just it takes place in history and we still have fun Kingsman stuff, is this the right move for the franchise?
It's an interesting thing because it didn't do as well at the box office, and obviously it didn't do as well critically, but the fans really still seem to love it quite a bit more than the critics did. So I don't know that they want to see a turn away from what they've come to expect from the Kingsman franchise, but that's what I think Kingsman 3 is for, is to give them that again, whereas this could be something different. And when I hear period drama, I agree with you, Perri. I don't really want that in my Kingsman, but part of me, if I think about, okay, so maybe what if Matthew Vaughn was doing like the Kingsman version of Outlaw King or something like that, with like great big field battles instead of spy combat? That's something I could be interested in, and that could be fun.
See, I'm all in on this thing. I am so excited to see how history looks through the eyes of Kingsman, because it's something like Assassin's Creed, and I'm saying Assassin's Creed more the video game than what you got with the Michael Fassbender debacle film. I like to see different periods of history as told through different sources, and I want to see how far back Kingsman goes. I want to see the creation of it, and some of my favorite parts of Kingsman are the tailor shop. I love the fact that it is this hidden thing, but they also also utilize the tailor shop as much as they do anything that's behind the doors that you're not supposed to go into. So I'm really in on this. I just wonder how it's going to be construed for fans, how it's going to be repackaged and resold, because to go forward with this franchise, apparently they think the best move is going backwards before we get a third one. So is there a chance that this prequel, whatever it is going to reinvigorate the franchise going forward? I mean, do we know who's going to be cast as this? Could we see some version of, is it going to be a bunch of different Taron Egertons going all the way back centuries? Are we going to get more Colin Firth? What is the cast going to look like?
I would keep an eye out for more information on that. Just to piggyback off of something you were just saying, Haleigh, though, it's a weird position to be in right now when I for one, really did enjoy The Golden Circle. Of course, I can't say it's as good as the first Kingsman movie, but I still really liked it. It's difficult to get super excited about more Kingsman, and I think it's specifically because they've hit the point where they're announcing so many different things at once. I feel like if I was standing where I was right now, having seen the first Kingsman and loving it, and then having seen the second Kingsman and liking it, knowing we were going to get a third one, I'm like, oh great, I hope they at least hit Golden Circle, if not higher. But now the fact that we've got Prequel 3 and a TV series, plus whatever else he chooses to develop, as a fan, I feel a little overwhelmed, and it's making it a little difficult to get super hyped about any one specific idea, because I think I'm focusing on so many things right now, so many things that might not pan out.
Yeah, I mean, so we know this one's panning out, Haleigh. My question for you is, how far back would you, as the viewer, want to see this go? Because he said something very interesting. He said that he was quoted as saying the man who would be Kingsman, which is obviously a riff on the man who would be king. That movie, it came out in 1975, but it took place in the late 1800s, I believe. So are we going back to the 1800s? Are we going further back? What do you think?
Oh, I'm into it. I want to see him go back. What I like about Matthew Vaughn as a filmmaker is that he tackles existing genres and then gets weird with them. He did it with superheroes. He's done it with fairy tales with Stardust. He really goes all over the map. So if he wants to go way back in time and do a period drama, so to speak, but make it all Matthew Vaughn weird and stuff, like, yeah, give me historical figures that are somehow laced into the Kingsman, and give me like I said, I kind of want a giant field battle. I'd like to see that.
A giant field battle is never too far out of the realm. And when you look at Matthew Vaughn and what he did with the church scene in the first Kingsman, probably going to be super violent as well. So here's what you guys have. Just to recap this story, is that in January they're going to start shooting this prequel that we're not sure what period in history it takes place in. Is it multiple periods? Is it one? We don't know that yet, but we know it starts shooting in January, and Vaughn plans to wrap it in May or June, take a short break, and then go to work on Kingsman 3, the one that would complete the trilogy that is Colin Firth, Taron Egerton, that was started by Kingsman and then The Golden Circle, and then a TV show. So let me ask you all real quick. If I just give you guys the option, you can either go out to the theater and you can either see the Kingsman prequel, or you can go see Kingsman 3, or you can stay at home and watch Kingsman TV show. I'm kind of into the TV show as much as I am any of these ideas, and I also love staying home. Haleigh Foutch, which way are you going?
I do hate to leave my house, well and truly, but probably I'm most interested in the prequel.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going prequel now. Perri Nemiroff, I know you have an adorable creature at home that you love watching television with. Are you leaving Dewey to go out to see Kingsman 3 or the prequel?
I don't like this game that you play.
I love these
Every
games.
episode, it drives me insane. Oh man, I mean, just because of the period drama thing, I don't really know where Kingsman 3 is going, and watching a Kingsman TV show at home means a guarantee sit on the couch with Dewey. I'm gonna stay on the couch with Dewey. I'm surprised any of us are here today at this point, and we're all not just home.
Yeah, I mean, I show up here and it's very hard to leave that beautiful Beagle Boston Terrier, Molly. Maybe Molly wants to go see Kingsman. I think she would fare well in that universe. Well, we move on to our next story. It's one of our teases that we had at the top of the show. What's fun about this is that it's Mission Impossible 7. We're already talking about Mission Impossible 7, and again, this is thanks in part to Stephen Frosty Weintraub. He did that Q&A. There was an IMAX screening of Mission Impossible Fallout, and naturally the conversation goes to, amongst other things, Mission Impossible 7. And Christopher McQuarrie was quoted as saying, "I can tell you Tom already has a lot of really big ideas. Yeah, world-topping shit." So that's pretty cool. And then McQuarrie said he made a suggestion. Whether or not that suggestion gets taken, it's effing awesome. in his words. So, Haleigh Foutch.
Yeah.
Is this going to be world-topping stuff? How do we possibly... You just look at the history of Mission Impossible movies. Haven't we topped the world already? Where do we go? The moon?
There's always more. Tom Cruise will always find something bigger and more awesome to do. I am so excited wherever they want to go. The question for me is it McQuarrie who's going to come back? Are they going to go back to bringing on new filmmakers? And I'm really of two minds about that, because I loved when the franchise... I am a huge Mission Impossible fan. I watch all these movies, even 2, all the time. I love them.
I like 2. I get into 2 at the beginning because, look, I don't know what it says about me. I love watching Tom Cruise climb rocks.
Yeah.
I love seeing that scene. And then we get into the story, then I start to drift off, but I love John Woo.
It's got some weird gender stuff that doesn't play awesome now, and there, a lot of doves, as Woo does. But
a lot of doves.
It's got value, guys. Anyway, my point is, I loved when they would bring in a new director every time, and we got to see this franchise remade in the mold of a new filmmaker. But McQuarrie's version of it just, I think, is the best one. And I loved seeing him do a second film, and for a lot of people, he really raised the bar. So I'm totally down to see him raise the bar again. And yes, I do think they can do it. Do I think that the ideas they have now will stick? Who knows? If you listen to the rest of or read the rest of the interview, most of what he says about his writing process is that he throws most of it out. So we'll see. But I do think they'll up.
That's the best and worst of us. You write down something, you edit most of it. Perri Nemiroff, you have a ton of show notes that you give me every day, and then you maybe keep some just for yourself.
I do.
You keep a few stuff in your personal pantry.
I do. Could you imagine if you were to sit there and read off like a giant 500-word article? So I just minimize it to like an easy breezy 200.
You're making my job much easier.
And then I keep the rest in my back pocket.
That's what I'm going to ask you now. What is written in your notes that is not in here? Any tidbits or any way that you're leaning to take Mission Impossible?
I mean, you pretty much got the gist of it. It's a very small amount of quotes in a gigantic, great interview. And actually, that's one thing I will say about Christopher McQuarrie. I think he's done a killer job with this franchise. But part of the reason why I've grown to love him so much as a filmmaker is because I've had the pleasure of meeting him and interviewing him. And now I've gotten into the habit of reading anybody's interview with him, because he's one of the best of the best. If you want any insight, and especially insight from someone who cares about every single detail and happens to speak about it all so well and so clearly in a way that, his passion for filmmaking is kind of infectious, just go Google Christopher McQuarrie interview and click on anything and read it. So for some of those reasons, I don't want to see another Mission Impossible movie without him at the helm. It's not that I think that he is the only one who can make a good Mission Impossible movie, but he has had such a good run. Why would anybody want him to stop? And he clearly has a wonderful working relationship with Tom Cruise. I do want to see them come back around, try to kind of prove us wrong, and go bigger.
Yeah,
probably to space.
You go bigger, top the world. I don't want to see this go to outer space, okay? And I think that's where you draw the line, because we've seen this in spy franchises in the past. When James Bond, we had a movie called Moonraker. Jaws and James Bond, they were on the moon. That was the Roger Moore era, and it was fine for what it was. I just don't think that you can do that in our modern era. But I've been proven wrong, because every time I see a Mission Impossible movie, I'm like, well, they're never going to top that. And they somehow do to some degree. I still think the coolest stunt that Tom Cruise ever did was just the sheer magnitude of the building that he climbed in Dubai in Ghost Protocol. That was the one that still just, and when you see the making of and the behind the scenes on them shooting that, it just blows my mind that he did it.
He's psychotic.
Yeah, he really is. He's a
full-on crazy.
He's a crazy human being that is here for our entertainment. Does he crack 5 feet? I don't know, but he's here jumping out of planes over 100 times to get that halo jump right for the cameras. I mean, I guess the poor camera guy had to jump out too, but Tom Cruise is more famous and has a great smile, so he's the one that we give all the credit. I love seeing this. If I could give y'all, if I say that Christopher McQuarrie's not coming back, and I say, who's the director that you think has the chops to step in to helm Mission Impossible 7? What do you think? Any ideas coming to mind?
The first idea that came to mind, Timo, how do you pronounce his last name before I butcher it? The co-director of The Raid, and he just did The Night Comes for Us, and the action in that is just impeccable. It's a very different style and a very different tone compared to the Mission Impossible movies. But to see what he might be able to do with a film of that scale, I'd be kind of curious.
Haleigh, any?
Well, shit, now you mentioned The Raid.
Yeah.
Gareth could really
Yeah,
do some
yeah, take
incredible
either.
stuff. I don't know, though, like when I think of Mission Impossible, Gareth and Timo are so remarkable at hand-to-hand combat, but I think of like set piece, you know, like giant set pieces that involve machinery and cars and trucks and planes and maybe a spaceship one day. We'll see. I don't know. Who would be perfect for that? I wish I had known you were going to ask that, because I'm going to get off here and kick my own ass for not thinking of it. You could do someone like, not that he's known for his set pieces, but like, what if Denis Villeneuve took over and made like a classy ass spy movie with Ethan Hunt?
I'm just thinking action sequences, like because I was really impressed, especially for a film that is making the majority of us see it on Netflix. I was really impressed with what Mackenzie did with Outlaw King. I don't know that he's the right storyteller to move and bounce and have the sense of humor that is injected in the Mission Impossible movies. But here's the good news. Here's what I would do. If I'm the studio, if I'm Paramount, I say, okay, we make 7, we make 8, and we make 9, and then it's like baseball. Back to the top of the batting order. Brian De Palma can do 10.
Yes.
John Woo can do 11, and we move on from there. JJ can do 12, and now math is really hard for me. So I will simply remind you guys that Mission Impossible 7, not sure when that's coming out, but we do know that in a couple weeks, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is in release, and this movie, now that everybody's allowed to talk about it, we have reviews out. The Schmoes review is up. It was me and Dorian and I believe Dennis got to guest on the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse review here at Collider. Not sure I know how Dorian feels about it. Haven't talked to Dennis about it yet. Have either one of you ladies had the opportunity to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
No, sir.
Do you know where I'm going immediately after movie talk today?
Now I have a feeling.
See that movie.
You excited?
I'm beyond thrilled just because I've been hearing the most wonderful things. And also, we're allowed to say this too. You know how we're having the Avengers screening tonight?
I do know that.
We got another one planned next week, and it's Into the Spider-Verse. And I'm hosting the Q&A.
Wow.
I'm really pumped.
This is huge breaking news.
Yeah, we posted it this morning. So if you want to go enter to get a ticket to that, go to collider.com. You'll find the article with all the information there.
Wow. Okay. Where's that screening? Is that at ArcLight too?
It's at the ArcLight, yeah.
All right. And like Perri said, the ArcLight is the place to be tonight. The ArcLight on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, California, the Cinerama Dome, to see Avengers Infinity War, the third movie, not the fourth movie that they just wrapped principal photography on. But the Russo brothers will be on hand. I guess they're celebrating finishing shooting while the effects get put in, and they're going to do a Q&A with their own Stephen Frosty Weintraub. Well, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse comes out December 14th. That's not the only movie getting into wide release, so we just got a new trailer that is for Vox Lux, starring Natalie Portman, Jude Law, original music by Sia. And this is a very interesting story, and I'm checking this film out sooner rather than later. It's in limited release if you live in a huge city with a lot of tall buildings. Like I said, nationwide December 14th. Natalie Portman looks amazing in this. It's written and directed by Brady Corbett, and the film is told in 2 halves, as the trailer indicates, is that she writes this pop song when she's young because she endures a tragedy, and then Natalie Portman in the second half is the adult superstar a la Lady Gaga, who's trying to mount a comeback tour but is still grappling with the emotional distress caused by said tragedy. This trailer just was more indication to me that this is a movie that I want to see and I need to see before I put together my potential top 10 movies of the year contenders. Is it high on your list as far as need to see, Perri Nemiroff?
I saw it. It's not getting into my top 10, but I still thought it was great. It's a super ambitious piece, and as you've probably read, if you've read even a single review about this movie, she's incredible. Natalie Portman is fantastic, crushes this entire movie, but don't sleep on Raffi Cassidy, because she does. I'm really just shocked that we're not hearing her name more often, especially associated with what she does in this movie, because Natalie Portman is in half of this movie, and I don't want that to take away from her performance whatsoever, but Raffi Cassidy is in a significant amount of it, and what she does throughout the entire thing, when you see it, she's really something else, and I think deserves to be talked about more than she has been so far.
Yeah, I really liked her in Tomorrowland. Is that the movie? Yeah. She's
Tomorrowland
in
and Killing of a Sacred Deer.
And Killing of a Sacred Deer. And so now in Vox Lux, and she's the younger version of Natalie Portman. Haleigh Foutch, have you also had the pleasure of seeing this movie? And if not, is this what you're going to be using your AMC Stubs Prime Gold membership, whatever Dennis has?
I have not had the pleasure yet, but I certainly will see it before making any lists because I do my job.
See, I don't. If I see a movie that's coming out, I really don't want to see it. I'm like, yep, taking a pass on this one.
Yeah, live your life. I biopics or even fake. Oh, sorry, biopics. I did the thing like LA natives do that a lot. Sorry,
biopic.
This is a fake one, but it's not usually my genre that I really get attracted to. But this one looks really colorful and visually thrilling, and I do love Raffi Cassidy, especially from Killing of a Sacred Deer. So I'm pretty excited to check this out, even though it's not. When I first heard of it going around the festival circuit, I was like, I don't think that's going to be my thing. But I'm slowly getting more interested.
Knowing your taste, I'm curious to hear what you think, because I think you might wind up liking it. I forgot who wrote the Collider.com article for this particular trailer, but whoever it was wrote something like, it's interesting that we're getting this movie and A Star is Born in the same year, and it is really interesting. If for whatever reason you have the opportunity to watch them back to back, it's kind of like mind-bending.
Yeah, do you see this as being, because the way the story is told, so you have Natalie Portman, and also she's competing. She's not just playing a version of who Lady Gaga might be, but she's also potentially competing against Lady Gaga for award consideration. Is this, Perri, because you've seen the movie, I'm just curious, is this a Best Supporting Actress bid for Natalie Portman, or is there enough in there to garner lead actress consideration?
No, I think we're probably gonna. She hasn't been firmly in any of my lists, and I don't think that's gonna change at this point. If anything, I really could make a stronger case, I think, for Raffi Cassidy as lead. There's a little. I'm trying not to spoil any of the revelations in the movie, but there's a couple of complications that might raise questions as to which category she belongs in. But even though this movie is hitting select theaters and then going wider, I don't know if this is going to make the noise that it needs to actually be in the conversation firmly. And I most certainly wouldn't call it a crowd pleaser, because the reason she writes this song, I mean, it's no spoiler. You could read it in the synopsis if you want. That is a very, very unpleasant, difficult scene to watch that is very tough to shake after her.
Yeah, that's what I was suspecting, and I don't think this is a movie that's designed to crush at the box office anyway. But that scene in particular, and then the subject matter, you have the Star is Born quality with the onstage performances, but it's still it's not the wide movie that you think is going to crush during the holiday season. But if it gets the award consideration from more critics, Perri's saying it's up there. It's not in your top 10.
No.
Can I say honorable mention?
No, I wouldn't even put it that high. But I really
50?
like, this is a good thing, because we're hitting that point in the year where we're starting to formulate our lists. And as I try to whittle it down, I thought I was going to be so confident in a select few at this point, but I'm not. There's a pretty significant amount where I can't even say, oh, this is my top 10 grouping, and let's say I have 5 honorable mentions. No, I've got too many on the list right now. They need to be trimmed down, which means everything is going to get a second watch if I could ever stop rewatching The Favorite.
Do y'all have one movie, maybe it's a favorite for you, one movie that you can say, certified, stamp it, gold, this movie is going to be in my top 10?
I have 3.
You have 3?
Yeah, The Favorite, Annihilation, and Suspiria. They're in. They're not going anywhere unless there are somehow an insane amount of the best movies I've ever seen waiting for me.
Do you recommend, because I still haven't seen Suspiria.
Yeah.
Because I was taking that day off, Haleigh.
Lazy.
Do I need to see it? Is it for a lot of people, or do you think it's for a very select group? Because I know you have very distinct horror sensibilities. I know you're a huge fan of horror. You all host the Witching Hour together. Is it for somebody who has a particular slant on horror, or do you think that anybody could go in there? Because I like watching horror movies, okay.
Yeah, I actually think I have an unpopular opinion, because it does have really horrific moments, and okay, they're pretty intense, but I think it's really a history movie, and it's a philosophical film. It's really rich, and I think it is for everyone, maybe not. There are a couple scenes that I wouldn't show to my grandma, but I certainly think that you could handle it, and I actually think you'd like it.
Okay, maybe I should watch the Perri Nemiroff Nana cut first, and then
Oh, no.
if I
No,
like that, I'll get deeper into
Nana's
Suspiria.
not seeing Suspiria. We already pushed the boundaries with 8th grade.
Were you that high on Suspiria as well?
Yeah. The more I thought about it, the higher I got on it. It's one of those movies where you walk out and you're kind of rocked to the core, and I was unsettled in a very unpleasant way. And the more I thought about it, and the more I started to think about the themes and how everything connected together, the more it started to mean to me. But I've been saying this for a while now. I need to give it another watch, because knowing where it ends, I think that's going to recolor my experience watching it all the way through. So curious to see how that plays out.
Okay, do you have any movies you want to go ahead and announce in your top 10?
Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, and Love, Simon.
Okay, all right. I really got to think about mine more. I haven't really done a whole lot of research. Creed 2 is probably going to be in there.
Oh, hey,
Creed
you
2
know
is
what?
probably going to be in there.
Mission Impossible might be in mine. We'll see. It's pretty excellent.
Yeah, Fallout's pretty damn good. Pretty
You
damn
just
good.
had to make this harder for me, didn't
That's
you?
what I'm here for.
We had a raging, as it turned out, debate yesterday between Snyder and Rocha as to if you were going to put an MCU movie in your top 10, or if an MCU movie was going to get Oscar consideration, which movie did they think was better, Black Panther or Avengers: Infinity War? And I'm interested for everybody's take out there. I saw the comments yesterday. You can keep them coming on this one if you want.
Oh, no.
You guys are going to get to see, or some of us are going to get to see Avengers: Infinity War again. I take Black Panther over Infinity War just because I think it's a better film than Avengers: Infinity War, but Infinity War had a tall task to do, and I think it pulled it off marvelously. Nah, I did not mean to do that pun. Sorry about that. Do you guys want to make your opinion public as to Black Panther versus Infinity War?
I think I should leave.
Oh, whatever. I'm going to say Black Panther.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's how I feel, so that's what we're supposed to do on this show. I love both movies, but I kind of agree with what you just said, where I think Avengers: Infinity War is just this kind of unprecedented type of entertainment experience, and it's something that we might actually never really get something like that again. A culmination of so many films, so many characters, so many journeys, and what they were able to do with that. But when I'm looking at it as an individual film, Black Panther is just so well scripted. It's also got an really, truly exceptional ensemble where I don't even just think that Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan made great, main characters, if not leads in that movie, but there are so many individual side players who really make an impression. Plus, it's a movie that leaves you with something to think about after. It's not just and I'm not saying that Avengers: Infinity War didn't leave me with something to think about. It's just most of what I was thinking about was as it pertains to the MCU as a whole. Black Panther, to me, had a different kind of ripple effect, and it's something that really stuck with me.
If somebody could just transcribe what Perri just said, because that's exactly what I would say about Black Panther. too.
Likewise.
Okay.
Yeah, you hit it for
Doing
all
the
of
heavy
it.
lifting
You
here.
did it really polite though.
Did I?
Yeah.
That's so not my MO.
Then that's probably our cue to move on to our last story. Then we're going to do some Twitter questions. You can always tweet us at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. The last one is to all the boys I have loved before. Let's see. For me, that's Tom Cruise, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Doug Williams, Randolph Childress, Joe Gibbs. It's not my list. It's actually a movie that you can catch on Netflix. And now we're getting a sequel to All the Boys I've Loved Before. There's a sequel in the works, and this is interesting because the original film was made and then sold to Netflix, but Netflix has this deal with Paramount now, and this is going to be part of that deal. So Jenny Han, her source material was the first in a trilogy for To All the Boys I've Loved Before. That's interesting because now we could get 2 more movies on Netflix. The property was a monster hit for the streaming service, at least as far as we can gather, because Netflix is very cagey about releasing their numbers, but they're greenlighting a sequel, probably 2 sequels. It means they like it. This story is coming from the Hollywood Reporter tale that says Paramount Pictures has the deal with Netflix to produce films just for Netflix, and we've seen inklings of that already. Have y'all seen To All the Boys I've Loved
I think the
Before?
more important question is, have you seen it?
I have not, but I love romantic comedies, and that's what this is. And this one, apparently the next one is going to take place pick up right after the events of the first one because it left off around Christmas time. That's all I know. Why do I need to see
So
this?
wait. What's on your list right now? We've got Suspiria. What else were we talking about? Vox Lux?
Suspiria, I need to see Vox Lux. And then you have, I think I've done a pretty good job of Incredibles 2.
Oh, okay.
And now I really need to see Incredibles 2 because I need to know how hard I'm rooting for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse to win Best Animated Picture. Because unless Incredibles 2 does something totally mind-blowing to me, it should be Miles Morales' movie.
I'm trying to figure out where to put To All the Boys I Loved Before on your must-watch list.
Really?
I feel like you should do Incredibles 2 first, partially for the reasons you just said, but I would maybe put this second just because I think it is close to a guarantee that you're gonna love it.
Okay.
I mean, you really must have like a dead black heart to not enjoy this movie. This was...
You're gonna hate
No
it.
pressure now.
Yeah.
It's just after Set It Up this year, this shouldn't have been a surprise to me, but it was, and how it kind of just caught fire, and it was this shared communal love for these characters and these stars, and the thought of them making another is just a no-brainer to me. And it's also one of those situations where, you know, it's not like a big action franchise where we're saying, oh, like, can they top this? Can they do that again? No, I walked away just having fallen in love with these people, and I really don't care what direction they take with the sequel, even though they have the source material here. I just want to see these characters just be in love, and I don't really care what it's about anymore because they're such great characters.
That's a ringing endorsement, Haleigh. Do you second that notion?
It's a delight. Yeah, watch it. It's such a delightful movie. And yeah, like you will fall in love with these characters. They're both really good. The young man, Noah Centineo, has become a phenomenon. Like women of all ages are obsessed with him. He's so charming. Lana Condor is very charming as well. I could be wrong, but I think the sequel is supposed to see like another guy come in that I don't. There's no, who are they going to cast that we're going to be like, oh yeah, she'd leave Peter for him?
I think the deal is, because there are 3 books. I've never read the books. Maybe I should put that on my reading
I've read
list.
the books.
That's like, I don't know anybody who would ever believe that. Even if you said it like so strong, still no.
Everybody knows me. You just know me. I'm not that hard of a guy to get to know pretty easily. And that's one of the things. I will tell you this, is that the story, P.S. I Still Love You is the name of the second book that she wrote. It gets more complicated when John Ambrose McLaren, who you're probably talking about, one of the childhood friends, he's also one of the boys to whom she wrote a letter, and so he responds, and then things get complicated. So now I really need to do my due diligence and catch up.
Yeah,
but
I think
I say, yeah, right. Like, it's Noah Centineo. Everyone's obsessed with him. They are going to have to cast a wonderkind of charming. Just no. Nobody's going to buy it. I don't see how
Bar's
anyone's
been
going to
set
buy
high.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
it's tough. No, it's tough. I'm curious to see if they even stick to the source material, because I think at this point, what is it? The movie cuts into like a book and a half.
Yeah.
So this would pick up with another book and a half, maybe, or I don't know. I mean, do you even think that they expected so many people to fall so hard for him, and that alone might change the direction that they're going in with the story?
Maybe. I do think, I again, could be wrong, haven't read the books, but I think that the love story between them is the overarching thing that goes through the books, but there are like other threats to the relationship. They're going to have to do a miracle casting again to pull it off, because you put any video of this kid on YouTube and it's got like 2 million views in a day.
Wow.
They're just
Well, I mean,
obsessed.
this is interesting that I'm coming to it from this perspective, knowing already that this is not just a standalone, that this is a trilogy. And what's really cool about this is that this is Awesomeness is the production company that made that. They're still going to retain the production banner, but it's going to be on Netflix. And what's cool about this is that you can clearly see Netflix marshaling their sources to compete against the other streaming services that are going to be coming out next year and in years to follow. But this is a cool way to say, yeah, we want to do big action spectacles and superhero stuff and compete with Disney in that realm, but we also are going to have films like this that you don't necessarily think scream shared universe, but you can have more than one stories in there. We're seeing that on the big screen in movie theaters with Crazy Rich Asians, that phenomenon, and now we're going to get that on Netflix with To All the Boys I Loved Before, which I will make my best attempt to watch this weekend.
That's a
on
really
Netflix.
exciting point. Yeah, no. What were you going to say before I cut you off?
It's on Netflix. You can do it. You can do
But
it.
what you were just saying, that's like the really exciting thing about this war of the streaming services and what Netflix is doing, because now that everybody is going to create their own, and I know grown, we have to pay for another one, Netflix can't necessarily rely on one specific thing they do well. They have to kind of cast a wide net, and we have a year where we got this movie and Outlaw King and a whole bunch of horror properties that aren't coming to mind right now, but they've got a library that could hit so many different things for you. And it's also probably important to point out that Netflix officially hasn't confirmed this sequel, but it's part of that report. So, there might be some things going on behind the scenes. I mean, if the director is, if there's any kind of negotiations, please bring her back.
I mean, she posted on Instagram, I think, and said cat's out of the bag. So it's not official, but it's pretty close.
Yeah,
Sounds official
ink might
to
still
me.
be drawing on some of the contracts.
Yeah.
And we've seen that before with directors, whether you're Patty Jenkins or you're Ryan Coogler, who make huge movies at the box office, and you say, okay, well, now time to pay me. I'm not sure what their deal was. I'm not sure if she was already signed or they were already signed to multiple deals, but now it does appear, according to the Hollywood Reporter, that we're getting a trilogy of these movies that I will watch in short order, because Haleigh encouraged me, and Perri said that I came up with a point that wasn't even, Cody, did you see that? It wasn't even in the show notes, and I came up with it. Well, we're going to move on to live Twitter questions, because I am riding high right now with house money. But before we get to that, I want to remind you all we have a stack day tomorrow on Collider Video. You're going to get Jedi Council. You have Movie Talk closing out a stellar week, the Collider Games podcast, and the Riley Roundtable. Who's Mark Riley's guest? Is it his dog? I don't know. I'll listen just along with y'all. Speaking of listening, you can catch us on the Movie Talk feed. If you're watching us, thank you. Leave a comment on YouTube. If you're listening to us, we appreciate all your support and patronage. You can give us 5 stars if you really like my maple syrupy voice, and you can leave a review to tell me how I can do my job better, because that's certainly possible. Now we move on to live Twitter questions, and this comes from Luis E. De La Pena, one of our favorites. He's got a good question. If the Avengers 4 trailer wasn't released over Thanksgiving weekend, it wasn't, unless I really missed the story. It was not released over Thanksgiving weekend. He asks, what are the chances now for its release on Thursday? As in tomorrow, 1 year exactly. It's the 1 year anniversary tomorrow of the Infinity War trailer that we got for that film. So could the MCU try to give us a 1 year anniversary that would be very special? Is there something that they might show at the screening tonight? I'm not trying to tease anybody. I'm not trying to say, hey, wink, nod. I literally don't know. They don't tell me anything in this office, so I'm not sure. Perri, do you have any insight?
When I think about them planning the release of this trailer because it's the year anniversary of the other one, it kind of gets a little bit of an eye roll from me. But I've been thinking that they're probably going to have a trailer to attach to Mary Poppins, or that still seems like the most realistic thing to me. So yeah, I think I'm still sticking with that answer.
Okay, so are you going with Mary? So if it's attached to Mary Poppins, though, it's not like the first time we're going to see it is like, you got to go to see Mary Poppins. It would come out probably a couple days earlier.
Yeah,
online?
that's what I would imagine.
Okay. Do you feel the same sentiment, Haleigh, or do you think that we're celebrating 1 year in style?
No, I do think that it'll probably be Mary Poppins. It's nice from a fan's point of view to be like, oh, it's a year anniversary. That'd be a fun thing. But they're running a business and they want you to go see other Disney movies. So I think it's going to be Mary Poppins. But who knows? They could throw a curveball at any time. Because people this week have been like, it's going to drop this week. It's going to drop this week. Was there an origin for that theory?
I had seen so many of those headlines that I chose to just ignore them.
Is there a reasoning behind
I don't know.
it besides the year thing?
I do wonder if there was any sort of debate in the higher halls of Disney, where Walt's body is currently frozen. I don't even think his body's frozen. That was debunked. But whether we do a Lion King teaser or we do an Infinity War teaser on Thanksgiving, because there's no way Disney was going to drop the Lion King on Thursday during football and then say, oh, and maybe Disney. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility with Disney. I mean, they move release dates up a week because they can. I don't think that they would have done that. I wonder if they were like, hey, we got this Infinity War 2 trailer ready to go. Do we release that or do we release Lion King? I just think this is part of the marketing strategy, but I do think you're going to see something before the end of the year. And whether that something is even attached to Mary Poppins is still in doubt, but at least online where it's known to break records. I mean, if you're Disney, are you just going to sit back on your laurels with The Lion King and say, we just broke a bunch of YouTube records with this trailer, so why do we want to try to top ourselves again before 2019 starts?
Well, we also still have Captain Marvel in play, too. And I know we've already seen something from it, but it feels like it's due time to release another trailer. And that's the top priority. And to me, that's the one that needs even more marketing than Avengers 4. And also, it's the question of, how much are you going to say about all your upcoming Marvel movies where the promotional campaigns line up in a way that one, doesn't spoil anything, or two, doesn't get your head too far ahead of the more immediate film? You know what I mean?
Especially, Haleigh, if you're in the theater and you're going to see Mary Poppins Returns, you got the family there, you just got your popcorn, your nachos, your soda, and you're sitting there and you see a Captain Marvel trailer and it's followed by an Infinity War 2 trailer. Is there a chance that's sensory overload?
Maybe. I think people would be thrilled, honestly, but maybe.
There's a really great creative challenge in that, too. Could you imagine if you were sitting there and you watched them both back to back and there was... Obviously, it's different time periods, but there was something about it that connected the two.
That would be fantastic. I really do think that it's just going to be Infinity War in front of Mary Poppins, and not based on any insider knowledge. But so when you think about them releasing Lion King over the holiday weekend, that really makes sense. You're with your family, kids are around. It's a perfect place to break records. And people aren't going to go buy tickets to another movie just to see the Lion King trailer on the big screen, which fans of comic book movies absolutely will do. They'll be like, I want to see this trailer big screen, not just at home on my laptop. I'm going to go buy that ticket. They did it for Star Wars all over the years.
Yeah, I'm counting in my head. I bought two tickets just to see two Phantom Menace trailers. I did Meet Joe Black and Wing Commander.
Oh, nice.
And then the next one I did Monsters Inc. to see, which I got lucky with that movie, but I did that. I went to go see Monsters Inc. and drove my family.
Better than Wing Commander.
To see. It's a little better than Wing Commander, but I do have a soft spot in my heart for anything Freddie Prinze Jr. related. Then, because that was for Attack of the Clones, was Monsters Inc. and then The Incredibles was Revenge of the Sith. So I've shelled out.
You have proven my point.
Yeah, and I would shell out, like, if you made me, I would shell out money to see a Mary Poppins Returns film if I get an Infinity War 2 trailer ahead of it. I did see Mary Poppins Returns last night, and I can't comment on it yet. The social media embargo, I think, is later this week, so leave it at that.
Just bragging.
Let me throw one more quick question at y'all. And this comes from both Paul Gaston and Ryan Walderson. They had versions of this, and they just want to know your favorite animated movie of the year so far.
Oh.
I have the luxury of the Spider-Man answer, and that is my answer.
I wish this question was happening tomorrow so I could include that in the conversation.
I love throwing curveballs. That's what's fun about this show to me.
I really adored, oh no, I just complicated it. I really liked Incredibles 2, and I also really liked Ralph Breaks the Internet. See, this is the problem. This is what happens to me at the end of every year. And this is the problem with film festivals, too. You go to a film festival to kind of get ahead of the game and see a whole bunch of stuff, but then forget a couple of months. I mean, even just like a week passes, and I'm thinking, oh no, I need to refresh. I need to know how they compare. So right now, I'm thinking to myself, I got to watch Incredibles 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet back to back to answer that question.
Unless there's something I'm missing from the first half of the year, Haleigh, Ralph Breaks the Internet is in a solid second place to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and again, that's having not seen Incredibles 2.
Sure, maybe. I'm going to throw a curveball here, which is that I really like Mary and the Witch's Flower, which was made by not Studio Ghibli, but the new offshoot of that with all the same, not all the same, but many of the same creative talents have moved over to a new studio. I actually saw it last year at Fantastic Fest, but it really stuck with me. I love it. It's adorable. It's very magical. It's this young girl gets basically magic powers for a night and goes to this institution of magic where she learns all these things. And it's completely delightful. It's not in the Disney mold. It's very different. I love it. That's my curveball for you, Mark.
Hey, and it might be too fast for me coming in to hit it, or it's got a lot of movement on it. I would say this. If you gave me magical powers for one night, would I leave the house? Yeah, I guess I would.
Would you go to school?
No.
Would you read a book?
I would not read it. That would be the magical powers. Hey, Mark can read for one night only. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Collider Movie Talk. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have one more show this week. Tomorrow, you can catch us, me, John Roca, and Kim Horch, our special guest, 4 p.m. on the West Coast. And I want to give a hearty thank you to Perri Nemiroff and Haleigh Foutch. Make sure you catch both of them on the Witching Hour each and every week. Thank you all for joining me. Enjoy Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and everybody out there, enjoy the Avengers Infinity War screening that we have tonight at ArcLight on Sunset. Bye. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.